My name is Scott. In this video I'll show you some of the steps to create a fast Pinewood derby car. Derby rules vary, so you'll want to ensure any modifications are legal for your race. Also be sure to check out hobbyprojectsite.com for more information, video, and photos for this and many other hobbies. Start your car by drawing the outline and marking the wheel locations. I use an extended wheelbase, so I flip the Pinewood car to get rid of the pre-cut slots. The center of each axle is 5/8 inch from the end of the car and 3/16 inch from the bottom. The right front wheel is raised 1/16 inch for a total of 1/4 inch from the bottom of the car. Lifting a wheel reduces friction and inertia because you're spinning up 3 wheels instead of 4. Drill the holes using a 3/32 bit. Use a drill press if you can to ensure the axles are perpendicular to the car. Cut the car shape on a bandsaw or use a handheld coping saw. Decide what type of weight you'd like to use. I like to use tungsten because it's very dense and less toxic than lead. Place most of the weight in the back of the car. Because races start with the back end higher and finish flat, the back end of the car actually falls farther than the front. Therefore, a rear-weighted car has more potential energy and will accelerate through a longer portion of the track than a front-weighted car. I mix tungsten powder with a little epoxy to create a thick, heavy paste that goes in the back of the car. After the weight is set, you'll need to do 2 additional things before painting. First, you want the front left wheel inset by 1/16 inch. This wheel will ride the guardrail, so setting it in will ensure that the rear wheels can run straight without rubbing. Your wheels will ride slightly tilted inward toward the car. Angle the top of the car inward to ensure that the wheels can't rub. At this point, your car should weigh about 4.5 ounces, and the center of gravity should be 3/4 inch forward of the rear axle. If you know you're going to be running on a smooth track like an aluminum track, you can push the weight even closer to the rear axle. Sand your car smooth before applying primer and paint. Apply several coats for good coverage. I like to finish the car with polyacrylic. It adds a glossy coat and protects the car. Use the time between coats of paint to work on the wheels and axles. Most of this can be done with a drill, but it's much easier with a lathe. On the face of the wheel that rides against the axle, cut it down toward the outside. This will reduce the friction against the nail head. Most rules disallow removing significant material from the wheels, but often you're allowed to smooth and true them. Cut the face of the wheel until it's perfectly round. Remove just enough of the edge to ensure it's straight and true. Use 400 grit sandpaper, working your way up to 1000 grit to ensure that the wheel is smooth, particularly the inside edge. Using quadruple zero steel wool, ensure the face of the wheel is smooth. Use a rolled up piece of cloth to apply an initial coat of graphite. Ensure that the axle hole is also smooth. I'm using a cut-off Q-tip to smooth the inside and ensure a good initial coat of graphite. Most axle heads come rough and warped. Cut the inside edge of the head. Angle the inside face outward toward the edge so that it's opposite of the angle cut on the wheel face. Overcut just slightly into the shaft where it meets the head. Also trim the outer edge to ensure that it's round. If you don't have a lathe, you can also do this on a drill with a triangular jeweler's file. I like to use a Dremel tool with variable speed to polish the axles. If you have only one tool to buy for this, I would recommend a Dremel. Use 400 grit sandpaper to smooth the uneven surface of the nail shaft. Remove as little as possible to make the shaft round. The less you remove, the better the fit will be in the wheel. Also smooth the inside of the nail head. Your wheel is going to ride against this, so it's critical to get right. Once the nail shaft is round, work your way up to 1000 grit sandpaper. Graphite will fill in surface gaps, so going beyond 1000 grit doesn't seem to improve performance. Pair the wheels with an axle. Add some graphite and give them a spin. Sometimes you'll get wheels that are off balance, and fixing them is tough. It's more of an art than a science to detect which side of the wheel is light and add the proper amount of weight. I mix up some tungsten powder with acrylic paint. Place a small amount on the inside edge of the wheel where you believe it's light. We'll bend the axle heads so that we can turn them to adjust the toe in or out. It's easier to turn the axles if we cut a screwdriver slot. Use a clamp and a Dremel with a small cutting disc. Now we need to bend the axles to between 1.5 and 2.5 degrees. Bent axles ensure that with zero toe, the wheels will ride out at the axle heads. I cut a small piece of hard plastic with a slight angle. After ensuring the slot in the nail head is perpendicular, I'll use vice grips to clamp the nail shaft to the surface, bending it to the proper angle. Now's the time to make the final weight check. If you are close to 4.5 ounces with the rough body, you should be close to 5 ounces with paint and wheels. If you're over, then drill into the weighted area. If you need to add weight, drill a hole in the bottom of the wood and add some tungsten sticky putty. Now we're ready to add the wheels. Select the 3 best, the 2 best for the back and 1 for the front left. The front right wheel shouldn't touch the track, and so it's less critical. Cut some thin strips of 120 grit sandpaper. Place the sandpaper in the axle hole with the rough side toward the wood. This technique helps keep the axle in place while still being relatively easy to turn. When you insert the axle, ensure that the slot you cut in the head is vertical and the bend is up. Turn the axle heads to your best guess for zero toe. Place your car on a slightly inclined surface and let it roll. Adjust the toe of the front left wheel until your car is rolling about an inch to the right every 3 to 4 feet. Roll your car back and forth. Ensure that the rear wheels sit at the axle heads when rolling forward and backward. If the wheels move inward while rolling forward, you need to adjust the toe by turning the axle head top toward the back of the car. Vice versa if the wheels move in while rolling backward. The goal is to get the back wheels parallel with the car and with each other. Visit www.hobbyprojectsite.com to see how to build your own track. If nothing else, a single piece of track is very helpful. Allow your car to roll down the track. Ensure that the front left wheel is riding the guide rail. The car should run parallel to the track, and most importantly, neither rear wheel should ever touch the guide rail. If needed, move back and forth from checking the toe to checking on the track. Apply dry graphite between the wheels and axles early and often. Spin each wheel repeatedly to work in the graphite. As you add graphite and run your car, you may need to recheck the toe and track alignment. If your car isn't stable or wobbles down the track, first check the toe, and next you can try adjusting how much the front wheel is turning into the guide rail. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Once again, if you want more information or you want to see other projects, go to www.hobbyprojectsite.com.